I do want to talk about what happens when you don't achieve greatness. The other side of greatness, right? That is the losing team. That is a team that falls victim. And one of those teams is the Philadelphia 76ers. Gets swept by the Boston Celtics. Obviously, they didn't have Ben Simmons. But this disastrous year of Jekyll and Hyde, yin and yang, great at home, terrible on the road, couldn't really figure out what the hell they were trying to do with their roster construction. 2019-2020 year, a year that came in with hype. Obviously, they lose. There's that heartbreaking series last year to the Raptors where Kawhi Leonard, that ball that bounces 5 times on the rim before it drops in to eliminate the Sixers at the buzzer. Obviously, heartbreaking. Kawhi leaves. And also in the Eastern Conference, okay, it could be vulnerable. But instead, Philly play their way to a 6 seed. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, swept out of the bubble by the Celtics. And now they are scrambling to pick up the pieces. And this is probably going to end in Brett Brown's firing, I should say. He's going to lose his job. And a lot of questions surround the roster going into 2020-2021 season. And I want us to take a look back on the process itself. Because it's not, I wouldn't close the book on itself, on the process itself yet. Because obviously, you would assume they're going to keep or Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, probably both, heading into 2020, 2021. But I more kind of want to highlight just the overall thought process of tanking and why trying to win is a hell of a lot harder than you really think about. So again, the process, obviously, Sam Hinkie, 2013 gets there, and his thought process is we're going to lose as many games as possible for 3-4 years, accumulate as many lottery balls, as many draft picks as we possibly can, and just by numbers, just by a percentage, we're going to hit on a few guys. That talent alone should carry us and make us back into title contenders, put us in the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference and the NBA, and bring a Larry O'Brien trophy back to Philadelphia. Now, they did the easy part. Sam Hinkie accomplished the easy part, and that is accumulating talent. They lost, and they did some more losing. Since 2013, when the process really first went underway, they accumulated 17 draft picks since then. Obviously, you hit on Joel Embiid, hit on Ben Simmons. But the easy part is losing on purpose. The easy part is getting high up in the lottery, and this was even before the lottery was started, earlier, in the early years of the process. So getting that top pick was easier than ever. So the easy part in the process was losing. Losing, they did a ton of it. Again, they got Embiid, they got Simmons. Here's what the hard part that I think Philly either didn't think of that was that hard, didn't really think that was the next step, or try but couldn't do it, and this just shows how hard winning is. And that is putting these players in positions to win. If you just think about it, going from a losing culture to where you may not say you're trying to lose on purpose, but you're doing everything possible to lose on purpose, it's not easy as just snapping your fingers and going from, all right, guys, we're going to lose games to let's go win games. Let's go out there, let's try. We got Embiid, we got Simmons, we like the young nucleus that we got. You know what? This is the year we're going to turn out. We're going to start trying to win. It doesn't work like that. You can't go from perpetual losing, from basically being applauded for losing. Think about it. The Sixers fans themselves saw the vision, embraced the losing, and were rooting for losses. So you have a fan base that basically inverted their brain to root for losing, to accept losing. And meanwhile, everyone thought, snap of the finger, all right, this is the year we're going to start winning. We're going to do it. It's going to be easy. It's not easy. Because as we've seen, getting the players, getting the draft picks doesn't guarantee anything. Getting Embiid, getting Simmons on the same team doesn't guarantee your success, you winning a title, if you don't have a winning philosophy and you don't know how to construct a roster. Think about it now. Simmons and Embiid, similar strengths, right? Both great in the paint, great at the rim. Embiid, obviously, a big man. He's versatile. He can go out and shoot threes. But he's athletic. He makes plays around the rim. Ben Simmons, his strengths, driving to the hole. Creating, getting that downhill head of speed, and attacking the rim. drawing fouls, getting to the rim, using his size and ball handling ability to make plays within 15 or so feet from the rim. So, okay, you have two guys that thrive down low. Well, let's put a few three-point shooters and we'll go. We'll go after it. But Philly doesn't do that. They either refused to see or know the strengths of their two best players, or thought that they would evolve and develop a skill set that they didn't already have just because they're great players. So instead of getting, let's say a Kyle Korver type of player, wing player, shoot threes, you had J.J. Redick there, you lose him. They instead try to surround Embiid and Simmons with Al Horford, Tobias Harris, neither of which are known for spreading the floor dynamically. Both of whom, along with Simmons and Embiid, really clogged the paint. So teams playing defense basically had to guard 15 feet and in for the Sixers. And they tried to play a different style of basketball, bully ball, like it was played in the 80s and the 90s, in an era where spacing is prominent, three-point shooting is key, and playing, again, creating space. That's how you win the NBA today. Sixers instead try to basically go backwards in time and shows it doesn't work. If you don't know how to construct a roster, it doesn't work. Whether it was Sam Hinkie, whether it was Brian Colangelo before he started tweeting from burner accounts, and now it's Elton Brand. Elton Brand especially, because he's the one who put this roster together, the most recent edition of it. And you look at this roster currently, with four guys whose skills best suit them from 17 feet in. You have Tobias Harris on the hook for 4 more years, basically $150 million. Al Horford on the hook, 3 more years, $81 million. Ben Simmons, his extension of 5 years, $177 million, kicks in next year. And you have Embiid for 3 more years. So the 4 guys with similar skill sets, with similar strengths, are all on the hook for the next at least 3 years with a ton of money. So it's going to take a lot of craftiness, a lot of work to dig out of this hole that Elton Brand and the Sixers created for themselves because they didn't know how to build a roster. Not to mention, we talk about, building a winning culture. The philosophy of the team, of the organization, did not match the roster they had. I love this quote by Brett Brown that I want to go back to that he made on December 7th. Why is that date significant, I should say? Ben Simmons, as we know, not only struggles from the three-point line, just refuses to take threes. Doesn't even try. At least for a player like Giannis, who doesn't shoot for a high clip, he shoots. And he shoots enough to where teams have to at least come out more than they would and basically just dare him to take the three-point shot. So he's missing shots. He opens up the floor for himself because teams have to guard and respect that he'll pull up and shoot a three. Ben Simmons just refuses to do so. He has only one plan in his mind. He's going to drive and attack. And that's it. So December 7th, Ben Simmons takes and makes a three-pointer. After the game, Brett Brown pleaded with Ben Simmons, with his family, with his agent, to incorporate a three-point shot into his game. Brett Brown said he expects minimum 1 3-point attempt per every game going forward. That was on December 7th. Let's fast forward to where we are right now, August 24th, 2020. Do you know how many three-pointers Ben Simmons took since December 7th? Since Brett Brown basically tried to mandate Ben Simmons take 1 3-pointer per game. Good or not, just take one. Do you know how many threes Ben Simmons attempted the rest of the season? 3. 0 for 3. So the philosophy of Brett Brown sees the way the NBA is trying to spread out the floor, trying to help guys like Embiid down low by having Simmons shoot more from the outside. The philosophy is not there. No one's on the same page. Because Ben Simmons basically blew it off, took 3 more threes the entire season, basically said, screw it, I'm just going to do my own game. Forget the fact that it hurts the team. Forget the fact that it makes it easier to defend both Embiid and Simmons, especially when it comes to the playoffs. The philosophy is not there. Embiid, since he first started with Philly, always issues, first of all, getting injured, and then staying in shape. His diet, his fitness, never really where it should be. So Brett Brown never really had control of the locker room. His voice never was meaningful. And this is the hard part of the process that I don't think Sam Hinkie, when he first started, when the Philly fans adopted, and the 76ers organization, I should say, kind of took over. I mean, a little less egregious aspect when he resigned, but still kind of tried to implement it and carry forward, was that this is why tanking is so hard to do, and it's anything but a guarantee. Because it is easy to lose games. It is easy to get high in the lottery year after year after year. And it's easy, too, to hit on a few draft picks when you have, it feels like a million bullets. Again, 17 draft picks since 2013. A lot of misses. A lot of misses in that time. But you know what? They hit on a few gems. Percentage-wise, you're going to hit. If you have enough shots, you're going to hit. So they hit. Now, if they draft a little bit better, imagine where they could be. And you take Jason Tatum instead of Markelle Fultz, this may be a different conversation. That's also part of it. That's the hard part that Philly never was able to get over the hump for. Player evaluation, roster development, player development. It's overall straight-up player development. Once you get the talent, how can you make that player into an even better player than they were in college or in high school or overseas or wherever they played? I don't know if the 76ers just thought that talent, like you draft a player and that's how it's going to turn around. It's sort of like the Knicks philosophy, but instead of with the draft, the Knicks think it's free agency. You get one player and all of a sudden they're going to be this 60-win team, this team that you really got to fear now. But it's similar philosophies. Okay, we drafted the player. We'll sit back now and let's just relax. That's not how it works. It's truly hard to win. So I'm not sure, again, whether it's now Elton Brand, who's currently the general manager of the Sixers, thinking that, all right, no matter who I put here, we'll get Al Horford, we'll re-sign Tobias Harris, we'll let Jimmy Butler go down to Miami. Who cares if the skill set is similar? We'll figure they'll be okay. Talent wins out in the end. Talent wins out. Yeah, but if you have a roster that doesn't complement the skills of your two cornerstone players, if you have players that do the same thing, it's easy to defend. Doesn't work. If you don't have a philosophy that the players buy into, that is organizationally the pillars that you want to kind of have your team carry out, you're in the same spot as the Sixers, which honestly is even worse than when they started tanking. Being stuck in the middle is the worst place to be. You're not bad enough to get a game-changing player. You're not good enough to really compete with the big boys. And now the cap's going to be hamstrung, with all this money and all these big deals you gave these players with similar skill sets. And they have failed to put these players in positions to succeed. Brett Brown had an impossible job. He tried his best. He tried to space Ben Simmons out, use him as the guy to open up the floor for guys like Al Horford, for guys like Tobias Harris, for guys like Joel Embiid, and just Ben Simmons refused to do so. Refused it. I'm not listening to Brett Brown. I'm doing my own thing. The buy-in wasn't there. That's an organizational flaw on the Sixers. So they did the easy part. They lost. You got the assets. You got the draft picks. You hit on Embiid. You hit on Simmons. But it doesn't end there. That's just the beginning. That's where the hard part actually starts. And so far for the process, it feels like their entire mission was just, all right, once we get the draft picks, once we hit, we're done. The rest will, the talent will take over from there. That's not the case. That's just the beginning. The Sixers and the process thought it was the end. So Phil's going to have a lot of questions, a lot of reshuffling, because I don't see how they're any way are able to go forward with this roster again next year, run it back again, and expect different results. So we'll see. It's going to be a very, very, very interesting offseason in Philly. Again, expect the first move being Brett Brown relieved of his duties. And we will see, will one player, will two players be on the move going elsewhere? It's going to be a very interesting offseason to watch coming out of Philadelphia.